this week we are beginning our mindfulness module, which I am stoked about because mindfulness is an area that I am super passionate about, both clinically and in my personal life. And so this week on the blog, I gave kind of an overview of what mindfulness is and why we should care about it. And next week we'll get into some specific skills that we can practice in order to increase our mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? You probably have some kind of understanding and heard of mindfulness. Like, it's become pretty popular in the last 10 years, I would say. So hopefully this blog will add something to your understanding, but let's just start with talking about what it is. The most common definition is something along the lines of intentionally paying attention to our present experience in this non-judgmental and open way. So that can mean a lot of different things, right? Like, our present moment experience entails so much. There is our environment. There are thoughts that we're thinking in each moment. There are different sensations that we can pay attention to in our bodies that are also likely linked to different emotions that might be arising in our present moment experience. All that really matters when it comes to mindfulness is that orienting your attention to this moment right here, right now, and bringing this kind of open, non-judgmental, accepting attitude, so to speak, towards whatever is arising, whatever you notice in this moment. So, try it out. Practice paying attention to your thoughts, just stopping throughout the day and noticing what you're thinking, noticing how your body is feeling, noticing what's going on in your environment. Any of these are fair game, and with whatever you notice, just try to note it without trying to interpret it or label it either good or bad. You're just noticing, you're paying attention. And I really like to talk about mindfulness with this analogy of it being a muscle of the mind. So just as people vary in their strength to lift certain weights, the research has also shown that people vary in this kind of trait-like mindfulness quality, in that across people, everyone has differing levels of like a tendency or capacity to be mindful across time. And what's really cool is that we can lift certain weights, so to speak, or practice different mindfulness skills that we'll be going over in order to increase our strength, increase our just natural tendency to be mindful and to engage with life from this state of mindfulness. It's a practice, and like with anything, you get better over time, and that mindfulness muscle in your brain will get stronger. So that's the hope in terms of the skills that we'll be going over next week, is to practice this and see an increase in just that capacity to be mindful. But why should you care? Why should you care about how strong your mindfulness muscle is? The research has really exploded in the last 10 years or so, showing all of these different positive effects of mindfulness. So, one example, or many examples, are mindfulness is linked to lower levels of depression and anxiety and stress reactivity, substance use, you name it, mindfulness likely plays a role. It's also linked to really positive things. So people who are more mindful are also more likely to report relationship satisfaction. People who are mindful, have higher levels of mindfulness, are more likely to experience post-traumatic growth following some kind of trauma or really stressful experience. Mindfulness really can be applied to so many different areas of our life. So what I want you to think about is, where in your life right now are you struggling? And let's see how we can bring some mindfulness to that. So, maybe that is, you're really just so stressed out right now. Maybe you're a parent and are struggling managing all of the differing demands with work and having kids at home now. Maybe you're really struggling with loneliness with the social distancing time. There's just whatever it is that you are struggling with. Let's try to pick something and then see what you notice in bringing more mindfulness to that area of your life. I mentioned it in the blog, but the 10% happier podcast is an excellent podcast that just talks about applying mindfulness to all of these different domains in our lives. And hopefully, you get on there, you'll probably be able to find an episode that is relevant and can offer you some helpful tips on how to get started. So check that out, read the rest of my blog. I also talk about the difference between reacting and responding and mindfulness's role within that, because ultimately that's what mindfulness is really, that's what it's all about. It's about how to use mindfulness to be able to intentionally respond to whatever our experience is instead of just reacting on autopilot. And like through this intentional response, we are able to make choices that are more in line with who we want to be and what we want our life to be like. So that concludes this video, and I look forward to talking about the different skills that we can use next week.